Allie, and thanks for joining for this week's Great Artist. We'll be looking at Norman Rockwell. Here's a picture of him on the artist card in one of his works entitled No Swimming. Mr. Rockwell, as a child, preferred the countryside to the bustle of the urban life, and so he loved to paint dogs and children and elderly people. He really valued accuracy and he studied anatomy. He collected historical costumes and props and preferred to work with live human models. You can download this. If you look in the description of the video, there'll be a link to this where you can see some more of his works. But here's an example. Here he is working with a photographer. The photographer's Bill, and Mr. Norman and Mr. Bill here are working on getting the lighting and the composition just right. And here's an example of where he set this scene up and then he went and painted it. Probably one of his most famous jobs was he worked for a magazine called the Saturday Evening Post and did over 300 covers for their magazine. At his time, the art critics kind of dismissed him because he was more of a commercial artist, but the public loved him. So here's some more of his works. And do you recognize anyone else on here that we may have studied? Look right here. Here's Grandma Moses. And here they are, it looks like celebrating her birthday. And he used real people, just like we saw in that photograph. And he would take the photograph and then go into his studio and paint it. And look, here's Grandma Moses again. I've put some links on here so you can go and find out more information about who's in this picture. But here's Rockwell himself, and it kind of explains some of the people that are in there. But he's done a lot of famous images, paintings. Here's another one of his. Here's Rockwell's triple self-portrait. So a self-portrait is when the artist paints himself. 1, 2, 3. So we get a triple one here. And then he's got so many details going on in here. He bought this thinking that it was a Roman helmet, but it's actually a fireman's helmet. He bought it when he was in Europe. But I'll have a link on here as well where you can go and find out more about this painting. Here we've got Van Gogh, we've got Picasso, and some other Durer, and it's escaping me, Rembrandt, I believe. And so one thing that I love that he's doing here, one, like he's showing himself, and there's so many different things going on, but literally he is pointing back to these great artists. And you see where he's practiced here, but and it's not just like one style that he's looking at. He studied all different genres of works and time periods. Because like, remember when we looked at Mr. Picasso, he did a vast array of styles. So I love that he's literally pointing. Sometimes that might be easily overlooked, but we've got to look at all of the details going on in the picture. So we are going to take this and we're going to insert ourselves into this. But I did want to point out, look for some of these great artists popping up in things that you may be encountering on a day-to-day basis. One of my boys got this magazine and I was like, after you get done with it, please let me have that. Here we have Buzz, I believe that's his name, but they're paying tribute to Mr. Rockwell here. And they're doing things that are representative for him. So they're putting sports stuff up here in the corner, and he has a cardboard box that his mirror is sitting on. There's more information about how this artist chose the different things that he put in there. If you're interested, this is from the January-February 2020 Sports Illustrated for Kids magazine. So if you have the PDF, then you'll have access to this and this, where I have taken Mr. Rockwell out and we're going to put ourselves in. Something that's interesting to note is that here, what he would do, he would take the picture, then he would actually trace the figures. Now they are not exact, like he changed some things up, see the hands and then they're folded, but how he got so much accuracy is that he would trace it, but then he used his skills with color and shading and paint to add more to the story. And so it's definitely a skilled artist, but that was one of his little tricks. So we're gonna do that today. Print this out on regular printer paper. We don't want it to be thick because we want to be able to see this image behind it. Now, if you are at home, you could take this and put it up to a window and you could be able to see it. If you're doing this for Community Day, you may want to take this. I just printed it in black and white. And you may want to make this darker. So, and I'm gonna go a little bit inside of where he is, since we are probably not the same size that he was. And all I'm doing is just kind of outlining. You can have an adult do this for you as part of the prep. Lay this over it, and I can faintly see where my lines are right there. So now we're gonna take a pencil and trace that. I'm just using a regular number 2 pencil today. So now I'm gonna go and I'm going to trace these black lines that I did. Again, you can do this on the table, or to probably get more accuracy, go and trace it on the window as well. One thing I forgot to trace was the head there. So outline that as well. So this is what we're gonna start with. And I will put a link to this great resource. This is by Expressive Monkey. And it's just talking about the proportions of the face, since we are actually doing 2 faces on here. So we've got his that we can look at. He was a super skilled artist in getting all of this detail and shading. And where we're working with a pencil, this would have been much larger scale. So we are not going to worry about the profile. That means looking at this side. On his, he had a little bit of the profile where you see the ear and stuff. We're just gonna do hair. So let's start with that figure first. So this is what you would do for long hair. Just draw it to whatever length is appropriate. Let's do short hair. So we're gonna do like where the base of the hair would grow, and then it kind of goes up and goes up. We can do like around the ear, so we could show a little bit of the ear, and then you just bring the hair down. So it goes around the ear, and you could feel it on your neck. Where does my hair stop? And then whatever style you have, maybe you have straight hair, maybe you have wavy hair, maybe you've got curly hair. Here, look at this proportions of the face, and you can see some different hairstyles there. So I just kind of did a little bit of all 3 to that guy. All right, and then we've got the neck, and then we're gonna put the shirt on, and you can kind of trace around that a little bit. And then we've got our hands. Hands are really hard to do, so I'm just gonna put a few lines in there to show like my fingers. So there's my thumb, and we could draw the pencil. So a rectangle, maybe with a little point on there, okay? And then kind of come down, just nice loose sketching. And we come down here to the shoe. We could kind of square with little curved lines. Maybe put some bumps on the bottom, like usually we have like on tennis shoes. And maybe kind of make that darker there. Okay, let's put got another like square over here. It's kind of hidden behind this chair leg. Then put some bumps on the bottom for my treads. All right, so there's that figure, and then I've got my looking at myself here in the mirror, and then repeating the same thing for the larger one here. So let's go for the larger one. That's gonna have more detail, and then we can do that one. All right, when you're looking at proportions of the face, if you look at our whole head, not just our face, but our whole head, our eyes are in the middle. So I'm gonna come to the middle of here, and if you have a mirror handy or a picture of yourself to look, you can look at the shapes of your eyes. So we leave a space in the middle, and I'm going to do like a rainbow. Leave us that space and do a rainbow there. Okay, so we've got the rainbows right there, and then we're going to do some circles. If you look at your eyes, you probably cannot see the whole iris. So I'm just going to do scoop, scoop, like that. Now, depending on what level, like if you just want to put a dot right there, that's perfectly fine. And just practice really the proportions and not have to get like on the detail of the face. All right, and then you can do really light coloring and then do the darker pupil like so. You don't want to do it too dark because then you don't see your pupil that well, okay? Then you can, this is with a probably medium hand, and then you can underneath it do a really light hand and get the bottom part of the eye. All right, and then halfway between our eyes and our chin is going to be our nose. Now, you could do a simple nose like this, which would just be a flattened out U, and do that. If you'd like to do something a little bit more advanced, I feel like it's like an upside down comma. You're gonna do a curve with a little, you see that? Doesn't it look like an upside down comma? And then do the opposite, so like a little curve with a dot right there. So really it's just the shadow of your nose right there. And then halfway between your nose and your chin is going to be your lips. So a little V, and again, you can check out the mirror and see, hey, what are the shape of my lips? And then flat, and then put the line in the middle. Give myself some big lips right there. And you can always do a little erase if you'd like to. All right, and then we've got the eyebrows would be our last feature. Because, well, and if you're doing short hair, then you could put the ears on there. His head is tilted just a little bit to the side. So he's only showing one ear. Where'd he go? Actually, he's kind of, see how it's just kind of fading off? You can see both ears, but this one's turned a little bit more. All right, eyebrows, wiggly little line, like so. All right, I will draw ears on here since I didn't draw them on this one. Your ears are, again, you can refer to this, are between your eyes and your nose. So I'm gonna put mine a little bit more on the side of my face because it's a little bit tilted. So between my eyes and my nose. And then this one, same way, but I'm not gonna show as much, like that, okay? And then we put the hairline on there. So you can look, some people's hairline's lower, some people's higher, and there's different shapes. We are all uniquely and wonderfully made. So let's put, I'm gonna do my hairline here because my hair is not floating above my hair. Even if you have curly hair, it is still attached. I've gotta do curly hair because he's got curly hair there, right? It's still on your head, okay? One of my sons has curly hair, so we can let this be him. So it comes, our hair stands off of our scalp a little bit, but not to the point that it's 3 feet above our head. All right, and then it's actually kind of short on the sides. It just has curly. above his ear. And then curly. Kind of curves in. Like so. This is a great start following these proportions of the face to give it more depth and make it look more realistic. Then you start doing shading. So you see how this one has a little bit of shading, but this one has more and it looks more realistic. So I'm gonna do a little bit of that now. So you're gonna have some shading underneath your eyes. See how I'm turning the pencil to the side? And this is definitely more like master level. So if you've got your major features on there, then hey, you can just skip ahead to this part. And then we're going to do some shading here beside the nose and a little bit under. Okay, it looks like he's kind of been in an accident. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your finger and smear that around. They have smearing sticks, which are really fun to work with as well. Gonna kind of join that up to show his nose. And then just kind of softens it. Your neck is also going to be shaded, and actually it's going to be darker because if it's your neck, then it's not getting as much light as your face is because it's underneath your chin. Remember how his just kind of faded off, so. All right, to make it kind of pop more, you can come and make these top lines darker and then just circle the eyes, and then that really brings your attention to the eyes like so. All right, now let's do this one. This one's smaller, so we're gonna do a little less detail, but it's the same principle. Let's go ahead and start with our shirts. Here's like the crease of where my arm is. On this one, I did a V-neck with a little button. You can do a scoop neck. You could draw a necklace. Because this is really the only one where you're seeing the front of the shirt because this part's hidden. All right. So because this one's smaller, I'm just gonna do the rainbows with the little circles and dots. Or little upside down commas. But if you just want to do the nose that's in here, just do that. All right, ears, eyes to nose. Here, I just covered it. I have ears underneath there, but you can't see them. All right, and remember his hairline. I'm starting it like here. Look at this example. Here's the line that they drew for the head, but do you see the hair coming down? These dark lines? Curly hair. And then for him, it's straight on the sides. It's not actually straight, it's just cut really tight. And then if you want to do a little shading, you can, but it's getting so small. Okay, so here's Norman Rockwell's lessons, focusing on proportions of the face and studying his triple self-portraits. Here we have his signature on there, and you can sign it yourself since you added your own touch to it. Thanks for joining.